What's happening, my fam? It's Boost coming back at y'all with another Nick Salt review. Today, I felt like running Oops. I feel like this would probably be a pretty fun one to give a rundown on. 45 milligrams, like most of them I review. When I first heard about Oops, I actually thought it was Pops, actually. Thought it said Pops. But when I first heard about Oops, the only real information that I could find on it online was that it was a mix of blue raspberry lemonade and fruit menthol. Fruit menthol. That's this one. And that's what I mean. If you smell it, that seems accurate enough. And that's what I thought it was for the longest time. And when the bottler, one of Mr. Salty's bottlers, asked me what I thought about Oops, I told him, excuse me, I told him that I liked it. I like to add grapple melon to it. And he was like, I tell you what was in it. And I was like, nah, but it's blue raspberry lemonade and fruit menthol, right? And he was like, nah, it's he said, nah, it's watermelon and menthol ice. And which makes sense, like why it smells so sweet, because watermelon is like one of their most sickeningly sweet aromas. And I mean, it's so pungent that when you hit it with menthol, like Mr. Salty's menthol is no fucking joke. Like unless you're like a diehard Newport Cool Camel Crush or some shit, like unless you're just like a menthol junkie, then it's pretty overpowering. And that's how sweet that watermelon is. It like tames a whole vat of fucking menthol juice. So it smells really sweet. It's so watermelon and menthol is a pretty cool combination, man, because it kind of just balances each other out and ends up being real kind of a mellow vibe, dude. Like it's a thick viscosity juice, so it performs really well in my bow or in my jewel. I actually used, I still pretty much do use my bow exclusively for Oops or any of the Oops variants that I mix together, and they all perform really well in my jewel or my bow. When I say Oops variants, I'll mix like 1 part Oops and just like little eighths of any of my berry variants, fucking grappleberry, strawberry, mixed berries, blackberry, just like everything in the kitchen sink. I'll throw it at it, and it's sometimes I'll add some of that fruit menthol too, but just to give it a little more menthol flavor, so it don't cancel it all out. And I call it Oops All Berries. And I also like I'll mix it like half vanilla custard and half Oops sometimes, and that's pretty solid. And vanilla custard and blackberry and Oops is really good. I call that like berries and cream. Oops berries and cream. But pretty much anything I mix with the Oops has always been a winner. Off the dry hit, you don't really taste any of the menthol, or even get the menthol vape, the that menthol feeling, like inhaling in your lungs. Like you don't get none of that. You just get like that slight watermelon taste. But I mean, as soon as you hit it, you definitely know you're fucking hitting menthol. I was never like a fucking Newport or Cool. I was never a menthol smoker. I had to really adapt to Oops. Like at first, it'd make my stomach feel like it was fucking empty. I would get that like Nick sick, and I don't know. Just I had to really adapt to it. Now I find myself like, I mean, at least a few times a day, I'll hit the bow. If I'm really, really craving the flavor, I'll whip out one of my air cartridges, one of the variants. Very rarely do I vape just Oops, because I mean, to this day, it's, even though I have a tolerance to it now, the menthol is still like pretty strong to me. But I mean, on its own, it's still like a mellow, it's like a chill vape. I can't really judge the intensity of the throat hit because it's just a menthol throat hit. But it's the intensity of the lungs. It's like a very expanding, like a lung expanding vape. It's very satisfying, in my opinion. If you don't like menthol, I don't see you really enjoying this vape too much. But it's decent, pretty decent vape production. I wouldn't call it like a airy juice, but I don't know. Calling it dense doesn't really seem right either. But I mean, it's a well vaping juice, and it performs consistently well, no matter if I'm using a Juul, my Bo, or my Air. I just prefer it in the Bo because it's not as like an intense experience. It's like just right. I mean, there's nothing lost when I'm like, it still translates well in the Bo. It's just not quite as intense on the mentholyptic side of it. The nicotine strength though, at 45 milligrams, it's still like in the Air. It's still really balanced between the sweetness of the watermelon and the intensity of the menthol. You can still you still know you're getting 45 milligrams. There's also like one taste in the Oops that I can't really explain very well. The best I can really explain it is it's kind of like a fucking, like a buttery pie crust. I know that's like, it probably wasn't what you were expecting, but that's the best I can do. But there's this flavor profile that happens when you mix watermelon and menthol that it just tastes like a fucking like pie crust or something like that. But I like it a lot. It's very unique, like unto itself. I haven't tasted that flavor with any other juice that I've ever got. And when I mix it with vanilla custard, it seems to bring out the flavor more. And the grapple melon and vanilla custard actually brings it out really well. About 30%, like 1/3 of each, pretty much. Beverage wise, I don't really pair it with anything. I don't really like drinking beverage when I'm vaping menthol. But the juice itself pairs really well with other juices. I can't think of any flavor except maybe like cannoli or the grams. I can't think of any other flavor that wouldn't go well with it. Peppermint patty might not go well with it, but I mean, it's just no matter what I've thrown at it, orange, mango, guava. I mean, everything works well with Oops. So it's a good platform, like a blank canvas to mix and experiment with other juices with, in my opinion. Just a mellow, smooth, well-performing vape. Kind of heavy on the menthol side. I feel like they could have gone like 30% menthol, 70% watermelon, but I mean, that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean much, because I'm not really a menthol aficionado. Aficionados of menthol might like to add more menthol to it, or more fruit menthol or something, but for me it's a little bit heavy on the menthol, but it works out because you can mellow it out with other flavors really, really well. So is Oops worth it? Absolutely. There's definitely a place in my collection for Oops. Not quite halfway there, but I do enjoy it, and I do vape the shit out of it every day. So thanks for tuning in. Oops has been probably my favorite to review so far. I've really enjoyed doing this one. Cheers, you guys. I hope it helps.